the talk that you're about to give is called Let's Turn It Upside Down, inviting researchers to the real world instead of the other way around. And I'm just going to inform you that Nicoline down here is going to make a video, film the speech, the talk. So maybe you should actually move over here. So just so that you know it, right?
Yeah.
Welcome, Søren.
Thank you. We're trying to have this projected onto the screen.
Give us just a second to see how there we go.
That's perfect. And then go all the way to the back and pause. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So, my name is Søren Dixen, and I have had a type 1 diabetes diagnosis for 30 years. And for 25 years, I've had a schizophrenia diagnosis as well. And then there was also something about some substance abuse diagnosis. I forgot about that. Besides this, I am also Magister Artium in Nordic literature. And I've also written drama. And then I am the co-founder and chair of the board of directors of the Maskine Amager in Copenhagen, Denmark. And our machine, in a few years, it has grown to be supposedly the largest truly user-governed place of its kind in Scandinavia. And I have some images from it. So you can perhaps see it for yourself. So what do I mean by turning it upside down? And this is our place with all its creative workshops and galleries and studios and places for painting and textile and wood and metal and lino cuts and graphic printing and plants and sculpture, etc. And we got a publishing house, a movie production group, a historic academic society studying recovery and peer work in, of course, a historic international perspective. And we got a walking group and a biking group and a yoga group and a table tennis group. And we have a preparing lunch, bringing a lunch back from, we get food for free from the supermarket, left our overfood, and then we have to bring it back and make it, and eat lunch together and do the dishes and toilet cleaning and etc. And yes, we also try to build our own research unit, because we are the data population. And many researchers would like to study us, but because this is our own place, we don't do user involvement, we do researcher involvement. We invite researchers to come and speak with us. And actually we have a few professors have come, some internationally renowned experts in mental health care. And let me remind you that up to 35 people come here every day to run our own place. We have to manage ourselves, and we are the so-called SMI patients, severely mentally ill patients. And all you see here, we have built ourselves. And we come there and we give life to our place and to each other. And we come to take part in each other's lives and hopefully make lives better for everyone. And we set a standard and a great example for this kind of peer-driven user involvement. And here we are in charge of the professionals. We have responsibility for the professionals. It is not here the professionals who have responsibility for the patients. And we try to look at ourselves as a resource instead of a burden. And we can do things ourselves. And the people who come here, besides severe mental illness, usually also suffer from drug abuse and homelessness and legal precautions and or physical illnesses, many times not discovered yet. I think there were 3 persons caught cancer last 6 months. Apparently also we die 15 to 20 years before the normal population, or so it is told. So we are told, due to the complexity, and the severity and of our what do you call that, level of functioning. Our level of functioning many times is quite low, so it's difficult for us many times to maintain ourselves or take care of ourselves. This can be difficult for many people. And many people who come here have also been subjected to coercion in the mental health facilities, and therefore they do not take kindly to public institutions and public services. Many times they're not fond of being involved because they are usually involved in a way they do not appreciate. They are taken in by force. It's not an involvement they look forward to, but they like to be involved by us because we are the patients and it's their own place, it's our own place, and we have a different legitimacy to speak about these things compared to the public services. And as you saw, we have our own style and atmosphere, and we are not a public service or a governmental organization, because then our place couldn't look like that. There would be standards and regulations for everything, and even the surface of furniture has to be in a certain way so it can be wiped off by the cleaning personnel and stuff like this. All these things, clinical stuff, it would diminish our capability to make it friendly, make it homely. So yeah, and this is an empowerment of us, all of us. Yeah, and then we try to help each other, and that's perhaps the motor of the whole machinery. And there's said to be a very pleasant, hard to describe atmosphere up there. It's an old hospital ward, and then we have dehospitalized it. And some people say that the atmosphere has a kind of friendly, almost healing effect. And someone described it as a catalyst, the atmosphere, the frame where we meet, as a catalyst for recovery. But it's been built through a few years by people themselves. And I've seen many things. I worked in a mental care, intensive mental care unit for 5 years. And I've seen many things being broken in there. Also because that when you're finally locked in, you might as well take it out. And many things are destroyed. And sometimes it's quite violent place. But I have never seen anything up there being destroyed on purpose. Ever, because people look after it and take care of it. And it's the same people who come there and who comes to the facility, the closed wards, right? But there's another respect up there. And I think it's because we have built it, we own it. It's not the public services who own us. And we take this quite seriously and literally. It's our own place. And people liken it more to an organism than to an organization. It's a kind of, there's a kind of a personal feeling to the machine. People take care of it. And by being involved in this, we, by extension, become involved in our own lives as well. People get friends up there. Perhaps they never had friends before, even at the age of 40. people meet on a mutual ground. They have all had the same experiences almost. So suddenly you have a lot of friends, and that's a good thing. So, and it seems to be working. And this brings me to the overall project thing I was actually going to say here. And we all know that there will be more and more patients in the future, and less professionally educated health staff to take care of these patients. And it's a problem for both parties, perhaps especially for us patients. So, and I can imagine a lot of things, and it used to be very frustrating for me, and they called it an illness and stuff like this, but I don't see it as an illness anymore, at least not in the same way. I'm not troubled by it anymore, and now I can actually use it. I'm very good at imagining things. So I could imagine that we tried to turn stuff around, and so that the system perhaps no longer was the foundation or center of things, but that the public and the patients were. And I imagine a future where it wasn't a system that involved the public and the patients, but where it actually was the public and the patients that involved the system. And to me, that seems to be a profound change, and I think it could bring some good. And I imagine that the patients control and design and are in charge of their own interventions. And I imagine that we try to involve you guys in our joint work to make things better for all of us. And I told you I was good at imagining things, right? So I imagine that this could be founded a kind of system founded upon civilian organizations, many of them peer or patient-controlled, civic organizations, providing care and caring for the basic things regarding the health of the public, as basic things such as housing and belonging and relations and meaningfulness and anti-stigmatization. We are pretty good at that too. And prevention and health promotion and consciousness raising about your illness or a cure or treatment and stuff like that. Illness management, self-mastery, personal medicine, and personal development. I see that places like ours could be centers or catalysts for these kind of things. So you didn't necessarily have to burden the health services with these things. They're best taken care of between friends. And I imagine that the patients and public and the civil society should be mobilized to take care of each other, and in a way that wouldn't turn people into patients. We don't turn people into patients. People are not registered at our place or in any way. So they don't become patients, but they are helped anyway. And I think there's a rich potential in empowering flocks of patients, transforming them perhaps into flocks of carers or helpers. And I imagine a future, where of health services build upon peer work, and because it seems to be healthy to help another person. It's called the helper principle, I think, to help others and to experience aiding friendships. It's a good way to get your mind off your own problems and perhaps forget your own pain. And it's also good to keep your spirits up, which is very important, I think, in regards to all illnesses. In Danish, it's called bevares i god humør. You have to keep your spirits up no matter what you suffer from. And these facilities like the one we have can be very, very useful. And people want to come. They don't have to be dragged in or involved. They want to come. They come by themselves. They come by themselves. And I think, as a special note, the historic core of the carer professions, like nursing and stuff like, it seems to be Caritas, the willed love for your fellow human. And this is apparently the core of the health professions, and the health professionals should teach this shit to the patients. And so they should teach the patients caritas. And I really sincerely mean it. I think it should be part of medicine, part of the medicine for actually all treatments of all illnesses, that the patients use their lived experience to help and assist each other. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say, I think. That video should have been a little bit longer. I hope you got to see it. Okay, well, and you're all invited if you happen to come by Amager.
Oh, great. Can we ask you a few questions? Is
Of
that
course.
okay? Yeah, great. So we're going to skip the reflection part again because you're hungry. But I'm sure some of you have, follow-up questions for Søren. I mean, yeah.
I remember, Søren, that once when I heard you speak, you said that, or perhaps just when we had a dialogue, you said that one of the big dilemmas with your disease and the healthcare system in Denmark was that if you don't turn up at the diabetes care unit, then they will sort of drop you after a short time, but you're always welcome in the psychiatric sector. And I was wondering, have you ever thought about, according to what you say, to have some services come out, as you say, invite people into your home, invite the system in instead of going into the system, to have, for example, it could be diabetes services, it could be cancer services, whatever, to invite people to be sort of treated or consulted or whatever in that place, or would that sort of make the place not what it is?
Well, we consider ourselves to be a free space, a treatment-free space. This is perhaps most important when we deal with mental health, because people have very bad experiences with the treatments in mental health. So, but I think we can do a lot. Perhaps not treatment with drugs, but in prevention and health promotion, and what is called psychoeducation, I think it's called, and teaching about how this person feels, and then this person will say, yes, that's exactly how I feel, and this we can do, and this we're pretty good. But when doctors come scouting for their missing patients, they don't have to. We don't really like that. So yes, but and people are always welcome. They come to see it, and
We have a question from Helle and then Laura.
It's not that much a question, it's a great thank. I think you did fantastic, Søren, and some of the things you said at the end about altruism and peer-to-peer and so on, I think it's generic within chronic diseases. It's in psychiatry, rheumatology, oncology, lots of big diseases share the same issues. I mean, you're right, we have to come to the patients and see how it impacts lives to live with a disease. I don't think we understand it fully, and we have to be better to do that. So thank you for sharing your
Thank you for that comment. Yeah. So Lauke had a question, and then Sean, and I think that's going to be the last step today.
I think first of all, I would thank you for this talk, and also thank you for having a machine in Amager open. I've been lucky to visit it a couple of times, and I think there's a quite unique experience in being in a space that's so welcoming, even if Søren has not been there. I've been welcomed by others, and still feeling quite uncomfortable because I could feel this was a very special place that was not mine, but it was not in an unwelcoming way. So that's worth listening. And then I wonder if you can speak a bit about what is the research now about that you're starting to start up that you...
We have 3 projects. The first is it's just a questionnaire we gave to machinists, 100 people, I think, and they reported on what they think about it. You know, does it help you to create a social network, or does it help managing your own symptoms or stuff? And then they can answer, and then we got some data, and then we will write just a small article. Researchers, they always want to be, you know, first authors, and they wanted to. Here, the machine is the first author, and then we got 3 professors who are second, third, and fourth authors. And then we have a semi-structured, qualitative interview as a guide. You ask for a guide, so it's pretty almost the same, but then you speak, so it's a fluent. And also we're gonna interview 100 people, but these take long time. These take so. And then we have a questionnaire, a simple questionnaire for collaborating parties, where they can tell what they think of collaborating with us, and that's primarily, you know, public organizations and interest organizations and stuff like that. So those 3 projects, and we will turn them into small, hopefully to be peer-reviewed articles. That'll be neat. So.
Great. Thank you. And then Sean, your question?
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm Sean Daniel, I'm from Ireland, and I found your talk very inspiring. I don't understand all of the things that you were doing, but you do seem to be turning it on its head, as you said, or turning it upside down. More akin to an organism than an organization. I love that. I don't understand fully, but it sounds like the space you have created allows people to be creative. Is that part of what brings them back? Or is it this idea of transforming patients into flocks of carers that brings them back?
I think it's the activity. When you have to, when you make a piece of artwork, you have to start somewhere, and it's the same with what we call recovery. You know, if you have to rise from a disabling condition, you have to start somewhere, and you have to be active. And people are active in coming there and in relating. Otherwise, people are very isolated, extremely isolated. But here they are active. They come and they hang out and speak and talk. And then one starts to draw something, and then the other person starts to, and then someone says, "Let's do this," and then.
And the other thing I liked, which ties into Hele, talked about meeting outside of the hospital environment, but you've again turned that on its head, because if I understand what you've done is you've dehospitalized the hospital.
Yeah. The capital region of Denmark, Mental Health Services, were kind enough to lend us these 600 square meters for free. Otherwise, we could never have done it. But it's a space, it's a room where we can exist as ourselves.
And not being a Danish speaker, what does MMA stand for? What does masculine stand for? What is it? Machine.
And is just a geographical place.
Yeah, and it's the story about that is Nikolai, who I founded this place with. He had once what they call a psychotic episode, in which he envisioned himself building a small machine that could help the big machine, that's the system, with good values and helping energy and good spirits and stuff like this. A helping machine.
Thank you so much, Søren.
Welcome.